Thanks, Brady. You'll have to excuse me, everybody. I'm developing exoskeletons, and no, I broke my leg, and so I'm limping around like an idiot. And I'm old school and have my notes on a piece of paper written in pencil. Dear. If I fall over, will somebody help me up? Yeah? Thanks, Brady. Good man. I only arrived this morning, and I had perhaps the biggest nightmare that a speaker can be told, which is somebody told me what Tim O'Reilly had said. And this is what Tim O'Reilly said. So I'm going to kind of make this up as I go along, otherwise you're going to hear the same speech twice. As Brady said, I've been a journalist and a technologist for longer than I care to remember, and I've been writing about technology in the national press in the UK and broadcasting about it internationally for a very long time, as well as writing books with pictures of animals on the front. And this, I think, gives me an interesting collection of viewpoints about the way that both technology and culture and media are changing as we head into the second decade of the 21st century. For those of you who've been paying attention, this year has been something of an interesting one. We've had the banking crisis, we've had the worsening of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, we've had Russia reasserting itself, we've had China's economy starting to slow down, we've had India put a moon probe around the moon last night. We've had the potential of a whole new political system in America with a whole new era of American politics. We have, in the next year or so, elections all over the world, including here in Germany. We're really on the beach of a whole new land for technologists and media people and cultural activists, of which all of you in this room are, whether you like it or not. The 21st century is really defined by the fact that the internet and digital culture is the defining thing that we do as humans, at least in the developed world. And you guys are it. You know, you're the alpha geeks. You're the people who are defining what we're going to be doing in the next 20 years or so. So the future is going to be really, really interesting because it's all up in the air today. And with that change, with that really interesting thing, comes an awful lot of responsibility. We have a responsibility to each other and to the world, and as Tim said yesterday, there are small challenges and there are large challenges, and the small challenges aren't worth it. And the big challenges definitely are. I've been part of this problem myself. You know, I used to work for Rupert Murdoch, and then I worked for The Guardian, and then I worked for the BBC. You know, in the UK, where it's kind of it. I am old school media. I am the mainstream. I invented the word podcast, but that doesn't really save me. And looking back at all of my friends and all the work I've been doing lately, it seems to me that the memes surrounding Web 2.0 have taken some of the finest minds of our generation and smashed them up against the rocks of fashion. We've been wasting our talents. You people are some of the most technologically sophisticated people that have ever lived. You are smarter than anyone who's come before you. You are more capable of inventing new things than literally anybody who has ever lived before you. You know more stuff right now than Da Vinci could ever even dream of, or the ancient Greeks, or the Industrial Revolutionists, or anybody. You're it. And if you're not it, then you've got Google, and you can become it very, very quickly. You're the pinnacle of human achievement. It's kind of a scary thought. But the pinnacle of human achievement seems to be spending an awful lot of its time trying to work out ways to play Scrabble, or making a fifth-generation Twitter clone, or a new version of a social networking site, in the hope that Google might buy you, give you lots of money, and then take all your work apart. You're really good, but we seem to be kind of trivial stuff. It's a bit like disbanding the Apollo program to build Disneyland. And I think that's something of a shame. Now, a lot of you people in the audience are going to be looking at me going, well, you know, you old bastard, you've broken your leg, and you're wearing glasses now, and you know, you're losing your hair. And a few years ago, you may well have seen me at O'Reilly conferences with much longer hair and a skirt on and able to walk. And yes, I may well be reaching middle age and going through that period that everybody goes through where they start to sort of look around and they start to nest and they start to think, well, what will my future children think of the work that I've been doing? And maybe I should do something a bit more conventional. I mean, maybe I'm selling out. Maybe I'm no longer the young punk that I used to be or used to think I was. And now I'm becoming one of those really, really boring old guys. But I don't think so. Because I have an alternative for you, and an alternative that some of the people in this room will think is really obvious. And some people in this room will think is the worst thing they've ever heard. And I'm going to split the room down the middle, and you have to privately decide which of these people you are. And then you have to live your life according to one or the other. It's a big challenge. You ready? I know it's just after lunch, but come on. Yeah, yeah, woo, yeah! Thanks, Tim. Thanks for ruining my speech. I know it's not. I think that it's quite obvious that we're coming to an end of a bubble here. When you have really well-known web entrepreneurs coming out and saying publicly that they don't expect to tell anybody what their revenue model is for the next 3 or 4 years, and you know, please can we have an extra 10 million, by the way. And when they're saying that publicly in national newspapers, then you have to admit that there's something slightly strange going on. When you have venture capitalists telling you that it's not the end of the bubble, then you know it's the end of the bubble. Run, everybody. For those of you who are old enough to remember the last bubble, when that happened, there was an awful lot of really cheap stuff available about 6 months later. Everybody auctioned off all their old servers, and there were lots of really, really nice Aeron chairs that were going very cheap. If you want to get into second-hand furniture, now is your time. But now is also the time to reassess what it is we want to be doing with our lives and what it is we want to do with the output that we make. Now, sure, Tim would say that we should dedicate ourselves to the really big problems. And there are lots of really big problems. The world is kind of screwed at the moment. We've got capitalism to rebuild. We've got the ecology to rebuild. We have political turmoil and wars and hunger and social injustice. And we have all of these different things. And absolutely, there are lots of these things to rebuild. And there will be lots of people in this room who will be really up for that. And I would urge you to do it. But there are many people in this room who are not up for that. For whatever reason, you're not. And, you know, I'm not sure I am either. I'm not sure I have the strength to do it. I'm not sure I'm clever enough to solve all of these big problems. But the work that I can do and the work that I am doing, I want to do in a different way. And this is my hastily rewritten message for you this week. I just started as associate editor of Wired magazine in the UK, and we're just starting. It's launching in April next year. And so I really am old school mainstream media because I'm launching a paper magazine. And out of all of the discussions that we've been having about launching this, we've been looking and seeing what is the core problem? What's the thing that makes us feel uneasy about technology as it is at the moment? What makes us feel uneasy about the internet and the world that we've been living in? And I think we can see the mistakes that we've made. The mistake we've made is we've ignored quality, and we've ignored craftsmanship, and we've ignored sophistication, and we've ignored good design. In the rush to build the next version of Twitter, or a Facebook application, or the beer-drinking iPhone application, we've ignored the fact that we're actually really quite good at stuff. And so we should make things that are really good, that are really elegant, that are really beautiful, that are really simple, that are things that we can look back of and be proud of. And not be proud of them just because they happen to get lots of funding or happen to get on TechCrunch one weekend. But look at them and be proud of them because they were beautiful. If you look at the high street now in any of the major European cities, you will see that the world is splitting into two. Television, fashion, the internet is splitting into two. We're going for high quality at one end, and we're going for low and cheap at the other. So here's your choice. As I try and use my hand and not fall over at the same time. If you look at television, on the one hand, you've got very expensive, long form, ultra high quality, very sophisticated television. The Wire, for example, or Deadwood, or Battlestar Galactica. And on the other hand, you've got very, very cheap, very, very easy, very simple, very meaningless television that's very, very popular. Britain's Got Talent, X Factor, Pop Idol, all of those reality shows, Big Brother. All of your countries have the same shows, they just have different names, but you know what I mean. And anything in the middle is dying away. And you have to choose, in this period of economic problems, you have to choose between one or the other. You have to choose, are you going to do the cheap and easy and shoddy and eventually meaningless and forgettable stuff? Or are you going to do the really hard and beautiful and meaningful and difficult stuff that you can be proud of? You have to choose between one or the other because the economy at the moment says it's either one or the other. Same thing in media, the same thing in fashion. If you look at the sales figures, if you look at the readership figures, you look at the audience figures, it's splitting up. Everybody's either looking at the cheap stuff or the expensive stuff. They're buying DVD box sets or they're watching stuff on YouTube, and the stuff in the middle is dying. So pick one of those two things and then decide to do it really, really, really well. And do it really well for its own sake of doing it really well. And this is where the room is going to split. There are lots of people here, as there always are at the end of a bubble, who work for marketing departments. There are lots of people here who work for banks and venture capitalists and so on who are saying, well, what's the point in that? Why can't we just build something and flip it? Let's make another social networking site. Let's make another Twitter clone. Let's make another Delicious clone. And hopefully Yahoo will buy us. Well, Yahoo's dying. Google might do next. Microsoft has been forever. And planning on having somebody cash you out for something that isn't particularly good in the first place isn't only a waste of your own talents, but it's incredibly inelegant. And it's nothing that you can be proud of. So in my old and grumpy state, and in quite a bit of pain, if I can leave you with one thing as I shift away from new media and go back into making magazines and leave the web to younger and fitter and more mobile people, take Web 3 and make it about quality, make it about beauty, make it about doing good, and don't make it about copying what was successful about the last guy in the hope that somebody won't notice you've done it and might give you some money to send you on your way. You are the finest minds of your generation, without a doubt. It would be really, 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 really bad for your children to ask what you did in this decade and for you to say that you made the thing that wasn't quite what YouTube might have been. It's time to try harder and it's time to do it better. And you're the people to do it. And good luck, everybody.